The book says, the further north you go into Skyrim, the more powerful and elemental the people become. This is going to be an interesting one, isn't it? How was Skyrim described before Skyrim came out? Let's find out. We'll start with what I consider to be the most interesting piece of pre-Skyrim lore, the book Children of the Sky. This book first appeared in Morrowind, you can read it in Oblivion, it's in Skyrim itself, and you can read it in The Elder Scrolls Online. Let's rip it to shreds. I mean, look at the continuity. Todd, please, put the gun away. Wait, why are you unrolling a carpet? Wait, no! Nords consider themselves to be the children of the sky. They call Skyrim the throat of the world, because it is where the sky exhaled on the land and formed them. In Morrowind, Nords are tall. Male Nords have a Scottish accent.
Don't stand about. Come on then, say something or move on.
And a lot of them wear face paint, which appears to be inspired by Braveheart. This, combined with some edgy names, gave the impression that Nords were Scottish-inspired barbarians from an inhospitable land that only they were adapted to survive in.
You like to walk a fine line, don't you?
As we know from Skyrim, the throat of the world refers to the largest mountain on the Tamrielic continent, which is clearly different than this passage, which makes it seem as if Skyrim was nicknamed the throat of the world from reputation. Despite how big the throat of the world is in the Skyrim game, there is still plenty of landmass around it. You can attribute this change to a mistake on Bethesda's part, perhaps. But in terms of real-life counterparts, this would be like a region of a country being synonymous with the country itself. Like how a lot of people refer to the country of the Netherlands as Holland, even though Holland is just a part of the Netherlands. They see themselves as eternal outsiders and invaders, and even when they conquer and rule another people, they feel no kinship with them. The breath and the voice are the vital essence of a Nord. When they defeat great enemies, they take their tongues as trophies. These are woven into ropes and can hold speech like an enchantment. The power of a Nord can be articulated into a shout, like the ki of an Akaviri swordsman. The strongest of their warriors are called tongues. When the Nords attack a city, they take no siege engines or cavalry. The tongues form in a wedge in front of the gatehouse and draw in breath. When the leader lets it out in a ki, the doors are blown in, and the axemen rush into the city. The shouts can be used to sharpen blades or to strike enemies. A common effect is a shout that knocks an enemy back, or the power of command. A strong Nord can instill bravery in men with his battle cry, or stop a charging warrior with a roar. The greatest of the Nords can call to specific people over hundreds of miles, and can move by casting a shout, appearing where it lands. The most powerful Nords cannot speak without causing destruction. They must go gagged and communicate through a sign language and through scribing runes. The further north you go into Skyrim, the more powerful and elemental the people become, and the less they require dwellings and shelters.
My way to Septimus Cygnus' outpost. I get cold just like thinking about actually doing something like this. Puts you in the headspace of like just like walking around this freezing area. Somehow a nerd were just surviving this far north. Yeah. That's what does it. Like the sound effects and the frosty air. Rocky, and there's ice inside the outpost. That's what he says as soon as he sees you enter.
Wait, his name makes it seem like it's an Imperial, not a Nord. Wind is fundamental to Skyrim and the Nords. Those that live in the far waste always carry a wind with them. There was a lot to unpack here. There's a few things in there that if you played Skyrim, you'd be thinking, that makes sense. Then you hear things about these tongue warriors and things, and you're just left standing there thinking, what? This book makes it seem as if that the Foom is something that a lot of Nords can have. When in reality in the game, it's pretty much, apart from you and dragons, it's going to be Draugr, but we'll hesitate to call them people, the Greybeards and Ulfric. We all know people's feelings about the Civil War quests in Skyrim, and clearly we don't have a bunch of axe-wielding maniacs on standby to breach the defences when the walls have been blown down by the shouts. Winterhold is the most northerly part of Skyrim, and there aren't a lot of buildings there because of a devastating off-screen event that happened before the game began. So in a way it's true that the more north you go, the less shelter there is, but that's by default. We're not seeing these magic elemental people running around. I find it interesting that by complete coincidence a few years later, in the video game Just Cause 3, parts of the northern bit of the map are completely barren. due to an off-screen devastating event that happened before the events of the game. Overall, I think the book does set up nicely for the actual game itself. The book is flowery and dramatic with a nice simile that stood out to me in there. It presents the land as more magical than it actually is, in a way that fables and stories passed down through generations will be more dramatic about events and the people than they actually are. Certain things in there do not line up nicely, but there are a lot of things, including the theme, that I think do. And now it's time to go back to the beginning. Right back to the beginning. We're going to look at the map from Elder Scrolls Arena, the first game in the series. Oh look, it's Whiterun! Expecting a game from 1994 to share perfect continuity with a sequel a few years down the line, 17 years later set in one of the regions it first described, is something that nobody would expect, so it's understandable that there are quite a few differences. It's interesting to see that the general layout of Skyrim and the locations of the whole capitals are accurate to some extent. We could reasonably chalk up some of these differences and discrepancies from outdated maps. The terrain being so inhospitable, certain guesses were taken. Local names for things that have gone out of favour. And lies. Falkreath got a name changed. It got a nice glow up. Wow. Morphle, there was no love for it back then either. Even back then it didn't even exist. Arena tells us, Nords. Thy race is strong as the northern winds which sweep through icy glaciers. The Arctic climb hast hardened thy folk for life's cruel and bitter hand. I bring you the default Nord that appeared on my screen, in all of their magnificence. The game's sequel Daggerfall would also talk about this coldness. Daggerfall would say, Nords hail from the province of Skyrim. You are part of a tall and fair-skinned people, strong, willful and hardy. Owing to the climate of Skyrim, Nords are resistant to the coldest of temperatures and take little damage even from ice-based magical attacks. Nords are historically well suited to all the arts of the warrior. This description is putting the warrior details in that were absent in Arena's description initially. Oblivion would remove the strong accent that Morrowind had graced us with.
Come on then, say something or move on.
Well met. The Countess is Heartland Nibanian, and so are most guildsmen and chapelmen, but most others are as Nordish as you'll find.
The infamous way the NPCs would talk to each other about rumours also gave us some examples of what was happening in Skyrim at the time.
There are rumors that the Nords are attempting to capture the whole of Solstheim and remove the Imperial fort on the island.
I'm not surprised. It seems that Skyrim is always involved in a border dispute.
I have no more to say to you.
Oh, sorry to bother you.
Reinforcing this image of barbarianism.
Aren't we lucky to have a skilled healer in town?
He's good. We're lucky to have him.
When creating your character in Oblivion, selecting a Nord tells you, Nords are citizens of Skyrim. They are a tall and fair-haired people, strong and hardy. Nords are famous for their resistance to cold. They are highly talented warriors. Oblivion Remastered gives you some other things. I don't have anything to play Oblivion Remastered on, so, Todd, you were supposed to hear that one. The often forgotten Elder Scrolls Redguard actually tells us a lot of detail. It came with a paper-bound booklet called The Pocket Guide to the Empire First Edition. This gives us history that the Nords originated from the continent of Atmora. It again reinforces the toughness of Nords, describing them as hardy, brave and warlike. It describes Skyrim itself as a rugged land. What's really interesting here is this predates the book from the beginning that originated in Morrowind that we read. It says the throat of the world. This is the highest mountain in Skyrim and the highest in Tamriel, aside from Vardenfell's Red Mountain. The Nords believe men were formed on this mountain when the sky breathed onto the land. So that does match the book. But here we're getting it very clear that the throat of the world is a physical landmass, where the most ancient and honoured Greybeards dwell in absolute silence. This talks about Fooms as well. It appears that when Bethesda was making Children of the Sky, they copied some quotes directly from the Pocket Guide. It name drops Markarth, and overemphasises how many people can actually perform the voice and use Fooms. It talks about Solitude, and also Harfingar, the region around it, which appears to have been an older name for it. We've got some good irony. Windhelm remains the only sizable city in the otherwise determinedly rural hold of Eastmarch, and serves as a base for Imperial troops. Ooh. The Nine Holds present a varied aspect in people, government and trade. The Reach could be mistaken for one of the petty kingdoms of High Rock. In Oblivion, if you were to pay a bit more for the collector's edition of the game, the original came out with an updated version of the Pocket Guide to the Empire, the 3rd edition. One of the most interesting things I get from this is that during the time of Oblivion, in Skyrim, Whiterun was ruled by a witch queen, who who wields effective control of the county, though her magic has not brought prosperity as of yet. Then you get Skyrim. Boom, meme lord Jarl Balgrove just chilling on his throne. The word Jarl itself is not mentioned in this 3rd edition of the Guide to the Empire. If you really get into the lore, really go in depth and learn about the old gods that the Nords used to worship, then you are a true Elder Scrolls fan. To summarise, the games before Skyrim painted Nords as a warlike race, completely and perfectly adapted to be in the harsh wintry conditions of Skyrim. Skyrim itself appeared to be mystical but brutal at the same time. Some things have been contradicted, some things have changed, but it is nice how playing some late 90s and early 2000s video games would give you background knowledge that happens to be true and accurate for Bethesda's 2011 masterpiece. If you'd like more Elder Scrolls lore, let me know. This video wasn't designed to cover everything. It was designed for me to go over what I thought was interesting, and how things are similar, and how they are different. You can spend hours researching the politics, development, history, background of the games, and the development of their lore that each contains. Oh, hi again, Todd. Thank you very much for watching. Good day and goodbye.
I have no more to say to you.